Hello and welcome back to Africa Arise, and thank you for tuning in. And as usual, if you haven't subscribed, if you like these videos, consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and if you're watching on Facebook, consider following. And don't forget to ask your questions in the comment section below, and I will soon come back to you. Now, we have done the installation of Scratch, we have done the installation of Python. However, this video is dedicated for children who want to get started with programming in Scratch. So, beginning programming in Scratch by building your own computer games. This is going to be a 3-part series because I am afraid to make it too long. I don't want to make it 1 hour because I'm afraid it will be actually monotonous or boring. So if I just make it a little bit of a 3-part series broken down into 20 minutes, that will be fine. So now we want to go and look into the interface of Scratch. The interface of Scratch, so that we begin to get going. So without further ado, if you are really pumped up to get started with programming, go ahead and let's get into the screen and see what we have. So the interface of Scratch is divided in many parts. So we are going to look at all these areas one by one. So the 3-part series, as it is going to the first one is going to first look at this upper bar over here, and the second one is going to look over here on this other right part, and the third one is going to look at this part. There are a lot of hidden things over here. You can see we have got things like costumes and all these things. We have got things like sprites, we have got things, all these things. So we are going to talk a little bit in brief about all these areas. Then we go ahead, we also come over here, we talk about these things over here, and later on we come back, we actually talk about this part and the things that you can do and what are all these things called, and after that you'll be ready to get going. So this is going to be a 3-part series, and thank you for watching, and until next time. Whole lot of things to talk about over here, and now over here you can see we have got these things. Now let's talk about them at last. We have talked about the backdrops, the costume. Now let's talk about the sound. Here you can pick your sound over here, or you can upload your sound over here. You can record over here. You can choose a sound from the ones that are already made over here. As you can hear, I can play this sound. Okay, so you are going to use all these game sounds in Scratch. If you want to look at the sounds that are pre-made for you, what do you do? You can also get to where the sounds are. Where are the sounds? Let me do this. Here you can record your sound. You can see it's taking my microphone. If I start recording over here, it's going to want to record that. Alright, and over here under surprise, you can choose certain sounds at random. Can you hear? Okay, but what else can you do? You can say choose sound over here. You click choose sound, and this is where a lot of sounds are. So much of it. You can hold to feel, to hear the sound. You see, if I hover over here, I can hear different sounds. You see, this is a barking dog. This is an oh, this okay. So just try to come and experiment and walk around the interface and get used to it, so that when we begin to do serious business, you won't be behind. Now let me do this at random. And let me do this at random. I take this one and I take the looks. What's happening? Alright, let me just choose this at random, just to play around. So if I click over here, you see that I'm zooming in. If I click over here, I'm zooming out. If I click over here, I'm just maintaining the right level. So in other words, this one makes it smaller, icon smaller on the block level here, and this one makes your blocks bigger. Alright, so you zoom in and out of your blocks over that stage. Alright, now let's begin over here. This is the code workspace. This one is called the code workspace. This is where we are going to drop and put our code. So if you want your things to be bigger, you put them over here. So we want to start with this one over here, is called motion. So if you hear the word motion, write this one. Motion, it simply means movement. It simply means movement. So in other words, this is the area where you are able to see all the code blocks that relates to movement. Okay, here I want motions, but when I click over here, I don't know why my Scratch is not giving me motions. No motion blocks, they are there. So if yours is showing this error, let's fix it. Let's close our Scratch and open again. I think something went wrong somewhere. Alright, now we are back. You see, so if you click over here, it's good that it has happened while at least we are doing it together. So if anything happens like that, try to open it and close again. If you have got work going on, just click a file and say save, and after save it to your computer, and you are able to close Scratch and open again and proceed. So now if I come over here under events and take this one, when green flag is clicked, and I can also take this one under motion over here, when green flag is clicked, I want something to happen. So I want to go to looks over here and just take this one and put it over here, just for demonstration purposes. And I double click over here inside this box, just double click and say hello honest. Whatever your name is, just write your name there, just write hello and your name over there. After that, come over here on the green flag and click go and see what happens. The sprite is now saying hello honest. So in other words, now this, as I have said previously, this is the area where we begin to take all of our code blocks and put them into the code workspace. And by doing this, as I have done, I am running the code. I can stop over there and it disappears, and click again over here, it appears. So in other words, I'm deactivating the code and running the code, and saying, you see, it's running over here. All right. Now, motion is simply relates to all the code blocks that has to do with movement. That is why here you see move 10 seconds, move 10 steps, 10, 15 degrees, 10, 15 degrees, then go to random position, go to X, 0, Y, 0, glide, point direction, point towards, change by X 10, change X by 10, set to, change Y by, set what you see. All these things, they are just instructions that are related to movement. So all of these code blocks that we are going to talk about, they are set of instructions but centering on a particular subject. So these ones are centering on a subject of movement. Alright, let's go to looks. Looks are instructions that are centering on the subject of changing appearance, or in other words, changing the way something looks. Changing the way something looks. So they change either the background or the sprite or whatever, which will be over here. The sprite, the cartoon, the background. So basically, you should take all these things in mind, so that when you want to work around your code, when you want to do something, you can easily understand where to get what, because you know that right now I want to run a code that is I want to give an instruction that relates to movement, so you go to move to motion. And right now I want to give an instruction that relates to appearance, or to change of appearance, so I want to go to looks. Then I want to run a code that relates to sound. Where do I go? You go under what? Under the sound tab, and you see play sound, do until done, start sound, do what you see all these things, clear sound, effect, pitch, what you see. Now increase volume, you can also change the volume. Alright, now we come here under events. These are commands. The way all these things are called commands. So commands, you are going to learn more about this as you go to bigger programming languages, which are real coding, whereby you'll be typing in IDEs instead of using blocks. So these are simply called commands, or these code blocks. So in other words, you are running a command on sound, a command on motion, a command on looks, and so forth. So this one, events, is a command, is a set of commands on deciding something to happen. You are telling the computer to do something when something happens. For example, when the green flag is clicked, as we have done over here, we have instructed the computer to display hello honest, to execute this code after clicking the green flag. So in other words, these are commands to start the execution of code, or to end the execution of code, which is to say to start or to stop, to start or to end the running of our code. I hope you are getting this, and if these are getting a little bit bigger for you, keep on listening these videos at least 3-4 times, so that or you also write notes and repeat as the first tip I have given you, so that it will stick to your mind. Alright, then we go to control. As the word control relates on itself, you want to control things, to put things under your control. Alright, so these are commands that selects certain areas of code and tell them to do certain things differently. You will understand these ones when you see them in action. For example, we once talked in the Introduction to Computer Science series, we talked about repeating, we talked about the loops. So here you see another things like wait, repeat 10 times, forever, if, then. So you are making decision in other ways as well. To control, you are also making decisions. You are telling your code to make a decision, to decide what to do and what not to do. Okay, now let's talk about sensing. Sensing, you can actually understand this easily. If I touch you, or if you touch your head, you feel that you are touching your head, or if you touch your eyes, you feel that you are touching your eyes. So in other words, you are sensing that you are touching your eyes. So anything to do with sensing, in other words, you are telling your sprite here that if the sprite touches the edge of my stage, it should come back to the sender. If my sprite touches the bottom part of my stage, should come back to the sender. Okay, so this is to do with sensing. Alright, and it's not only basically centering on the sensing of touching the edges, it also involves things like changing colors or sound and positions, or if the user puts something. Alright, for example, you put something in your phone, like you dial a number and hit call, so the phone begins to call somebody because you are putting something, or you put words in your email address and you press login and something happens. Alright, now let's talk about operators. If you are doing mathematics at school, I think you are going to be much familiar with these ones, because these are not big mathematical numbers. So it's all about things like adding numbers, 1 plus certain number, minus, multiplication, division. You can also involve things like picking numbers at random between a certain number from maybe 1 to 10. You pick numbers randomly, greater than or equal to, which number is greater than or equal to the other, less than or equal to, and less than. And you can also use these and the words and the word or not. These are called comparison names, words. They are comparative. They compare certain things. So you are going to use these words in programming as to compare. So they are, in other words, called programming logic, or math operators, or logical operators. Okay, now let's go to the section of variables. Variables are just the things that we tend to give names to. We create certain things and we give them names in computer science. So for example, I can create a block of code and I give it my own name. For example, I can give it a name like this variable is called
addition because it adds numbers. I can name a particular variable certain things based on what I want it to do. Okay, so you are going to understand this much better when you begin to do them. But for now, I think this tutorial was long enough, and we are done with going through the Scratch, and you have already run your first line of code, which is hello your name. And congratulations for getting this far, and I hope you have, as usual, enjoyed it. I don't want to talk about this button here because we are going to talk about it later on if needs be. But for now, cheers, and you are ready to begin rolling and creating your first games, and stop playing games created by other people, but you are going to begin to create the games that you are going to enjoy yourself. And I am proud of you if you have managed to get this far. Thank you for watching, and until next time, enjoy and keep practicing, and don't give up, my dearest friend. Don't give up. The future is now, and the future is bright for you. Bye bye.
And thank you for watching, and until next time.